Hi, welcome back. This episode, I'm going to be talking about homelessness in the Seattle, Washington area. So, I want to give you a little background about the Seattle area of homelessness. Roughly each year, Seattle spends about $1 billion dollars in fighting homelessness. But with that said, them fighting homelessness at $1 billion dollars, you would think that that would be taking care of the problem or the issue, right? Well, no. Roughly, we have anywhere on a given average year, we have anywhere between 12,000 to 14,000 average homeless every year. And with the population growing and a big spike of last year, we've seen that grow tremendously within the last 2 years, up from 12,000 to 14,936. With that said, point of time, we just did a count in January, and I'm quite sure that there will be a spike for 2019 of population growth of homelessness. Homelessness looks in different forms. There's RV camps, there's tents, there's people sleeping under bridges, there's people sleeping in cars, there's people who are going from hotel to hotel, there's people who are living under trees, under buildings, wherever they can sleep at, due to the fact that it's raining all the time sometimes, and then we got hit with a major snowstorm that we had like at least 15 deaths during that snowstorm. Majority of them was homeless. So with that said, the homeless population increase and a lot of deaths that happened this year, there should be something that could be done, but there's really nothing that's being done, even though we get the money to do so. $1 billion dollars every year, and then they're expecting to get an increase of that next year. 2020, we were supposed to get $2 billion dollars. So my thing is, if we're getting this money, where is it going, and how is it being spent, and why do we still have a population growing of homelessness? My main concern is the 5,436 youth population that's out there of homeless children. And I'm quite sure 2019, at point of time count, it might be more than that. But right now, that is the total number as I stand. The youth are out there with their parents. They're going to school. They're picking up the pieces like there's nothing happened, but they're homeless. And there's not many resources out there for them to get the stuff that they need, clothing, baths, stuff like that. There needs to be more resources for youth who are out there, especially like the kids, their babies, Pampers, shoes, different stuff like that is needed. So my question is, why is that not being funded? Why is that not being taken care of? Why are these answers not being answered by the government? These questions are not being answered because they're getting the money, but we're not seeing any resources or not seeing anything happening. My thing is, with the shelters that are out there, they say that they have a lot of shelters out there for women, children, men, but there's a lot of people who are still out there on the streets. Some are being turned away because there's not enough beds, there's not enough shelters to go around, or the shelters are not there for working families who cannot make it to the shelters at the time that is needed. There should be shelters for working families that supports them in the whole. I've had a lot of working families that say, well, we get off at 5 o'clock. Sometimes the check-in time for the shelters, you got to be there by 3 to get a ticket to get in, or you got to be there by 5, and they're just getting off at 5, and then they are out of luck trying to get a bed for their families. And then there's no place, no shelters where they have, like a working family doesn't have like daycare for their children either. So they're like, gotta run over here to get their child and try to make it back to the shelter in time so they can get a bed. There should be a working family shelter, something in place to at least help with that scenario. I've brought it up to the city council many of times that this should be in place, but they kept saying that, oh, we're putting something in place, and each time I've gotten shut down. As far as meal sites, you know, there's a lot of meal sites around that you can get a meal from, but you got to get there. The object of the game is getting there. Most of the time, the homeless, they don't have like bus tickets and stuff, or if they do, they get like a one little voucher to get point A to point B, and sometimes they take that, use that to go over here to get to one meal site, but then there's 3 meals in a day that they need to get. So how are they going to get back to the next meal? So these things should be taken in account of. Everything should be taken into place as a whole, instead of just saying, oh, well, we're giving them this, this, and this. They should be able to do this. But if you're only giving them the bare minimum to get by the bare minimum, how can they make everything else in transition? That's what, as far as shelters go, want to see a change. As far as adults, there is a lot of places around in the area that house adult sheltering and stuff like that. And I heard a lot of people saying that, oh, this person's on drugs, this person's on drugs, and that's why they're homeless and stuff. My thing is, I don't care if you're on drugs. I don't care if you have an addiction. I don't care if you have a mental issue. I don't care if you have a problem. My thing is, if you're homeless, you're homeless. You're homeless for some reason, point or another. And that is one reason to make a difference, to make a change. Just because you're on drugs, just because you have a mental illness, doesn't mean that you don't have a need. And that need needs to be met. Yeah, there's a lot of people who are on drugs that don't want a home. They like their situation that they're in. Then those are the ones that you just let them be. But the ones who really wants to be nurtured and fed and wants to have something different happen, then those are the ones that we need to take the time to help, regardless of whether they have an addiction or not. A lot of talk about resources in the area. There is a lot of resources in the area, but they only help to a certain point. The resources that you get, you can be for 6 to 7 months, maybe 8 to a year. But we all know that after a year, people fall off. So there should be something in place for someone to come back and say, okay, what is this that you need? Or what added stuff that you need? Because you can help someone for 6 months and then they kick you out the program. But 6 months isn't, we all know that that's not enough time to get yourself together. So yeah, there is resources, but the resources are only till a certain point. And then after a certain point, then they drop you, and then you're on your own, and then you have to figure out what it is that you need to do. And sometimes you need extra help past that point to get you to where you need to go. As far as the encampments, I've heard that there's a lot of encampments opening up, and there's some that's shutting down. My thing is, I don't have a problem with the encampments. I have a problem with the mess. Clean up after yourself. If you're going to be in an encampment, there's no reason for you to have trash everywhere. That is my biggest pet peeve right now with the tents that's around the city and around, because everything is nice and people are here to help. But if you're not going to make it appealing then why would someone want to help you if you're not cleaning up behind yourself? There's no reason to be messy when you know that you're not supposed to be there in the first place. So do yourself a favor, clean up behind yourself, and then maybe you can get a little bit more than what you're getting. And as far as the people who are donating and putting into these tent cities, trash bins, garbage pails, these are things that's needed. If you want to make a change, be the change. Give them something to change it. Put garbage out there, garbage cans out there for them to put the garbage in. Don't say it's just a mess. I walk through, and if I see that, I will drop a trash bag off, and I was like, hey, I see that there's a mess here. Can you use this garbage bag to clean it up? Those are things that can be in place. But you have to speak up about it too. Because being quiet and just saying, look at the mess, is not going to change the mess. You have to get out there and enforce the mess and have them see that you mean business. There's a lot of RV camps around, and they're growing by the numbers. And this is one way that homeless can have a shelter over their head and be out the way. But then there's a lot of homeless who are parking, getting tickets, getting their places towed because they don't have a set place to stay and they have to be moved. And then some of these RVs, they can't be moved because they don't run. They're just a shelter. So with that said, you know, we would have to find, well, I would say, that I would oppose us having an RV camp, that RVs can be placed there for homeless to come in, check in like a check-in system, see who's there, see who's not there, check them in, check them out, and they could be there and be safe. That is what I'm opposing. Because right now, them being on the side of the roads, all over the place, getting tickets, being towed and whatever, that's not working. So we need to put in a new system that would help. I mean, there's a place in Kent that has a check-in system like that, that does a check-in. You come in, you can sleep in your car at a church 24 hours, you know, but then the next day you rotate to another church and you do that every night, and it's a safe place to sleep. We can do that for the RVs too. Okay, so I have a couple of stories that I would tell. There's a campment called the Jesus Camp, and it's ran by a guy named Jesus, and he keeps all his members, as he called it, safe. There is absolutely no men allowed in this camp at all. It's just him and 27 or 28 women, and he keeps them all safe. And if the woman has a child and they're over the age of 12 and they're males, they have to leave because they can't stay due to the fact that he doesn't want any males in the camp. And that's one of the they stay over water, so you have to walk over the water and walk back. And this encampment is camped really tight. Everybody has a job there. I think that's one of the best encampments I've ever seen because there's really no mess. They keep it clean, and if they have fire, it's only in certain spots, and it's around the encampment, and it's very well kept. And then there's another encampment that I go to on a regular. They it's all men, and this one is called the Legion of the Dam, and they have their own names and they do their own things. They have a pecking order too. Their system is that order a birthday. Whoever's birthday is coming up, they're the ones who does the cooking and the cleaning and the rotation of this everything. And it's outside on a breadth of a highway. So the strip of highway is always kept clean, and they make sure that, you know, all the litter is picked up from the highway. The state patrol even, you know, they said that they commend them because they do clean up. And that's one thing that, you know, was a big issue for a long time with the other encampment was living there. They never cleaned up and the trash was everywhere. But they keep that whole stretch of highway clean. And they know who comes in, who goes out, and there are no outsiders unless they know who you are. So that is one of the Legion of the Damned's best qualities, is how we keep it clean. Then there's a youth group that none but minors, ages of 12 all the way to 18. The oldest, and his name is Christopher, and he keeps everybody in line. He's the 18-year-old, and he take care of everything from food, water. I mean, he's even made a makeshift shelter to keep the younger kids in. This young man is remarkable because he does everything that a parent would do for their children, and he makes sure all of them go to school. There's nobody that don't go to school, and if you don't go to school, he wants to know why, and then you're in trouble. And then he makes you work it off because he feels that education is important. So, with that said, he is one remarkable young gentleman, you know. Yeah, I deliver food to each and every one of them, and I make sure that they are well taken care of. I've washed clothes for the youth so they can have fresh clothes for school. During September, when they get ready to go back to school, I make sure their clothes are washed, and I have give them everything that they need, school supplies and stuff that they need to go to school. And I also make sure that, you know, when they get to school, and to find out which schools they go to, and if they need anything, or like their monies on their books and lunch monies and stuff like that. I make sure that they taken care of. There was 2 children actually this year that was graduating, well actually last year, 2018, that was graduating, and they couldn't graduate because they still had money on their books, so I went ahead and paid the money off for their lunch because they still owed on it, and so they could graduate. So I paid that off. So I do those type of things and make sure that they have what they need, washing their clothes, food, and stuff like that. One of the ways you can help, if you would like to, is donate to one of your local food banks or your shelters. And there's an organization that you can donate to called Team Child. Their website is teamchild.org, and you can donate there. They have a little donate button with 2 hands. Just click on it and donate. Team Child is a legal service for any child in Washington State. They help them. They take their case for free. So a child never has to come out their pocket. The only thing they have to do is say that they want their services, and Team Child will help. Thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button so you'll never miss an episode. And comment below and tell me something about yourself, because I am Dax.